Okay. Oh, my name is in the way. Can I make that not a thing? That'll have to do. Hello, Katarina. I'm running a little late today. Getting my shit together. Getting my shit together. Ah. Okay. Yay, sleep. My husband kept stealing the blankets. So here we are. All right, let's pull a card. I'm not doing the grounding ritual today. I'm pretty grounded as it is. All right. Blanket thief, yes. So how are you doing today, Katarina? Thank you for coming this morning on such short notice. Pretty good. All right. Okay. The Eight of Wands reversed, which is not great. Impatience grows as mounting delays prolong you from taking any kind of action. The postponement is dampening your spirit, and you are irritated at the deficiency of the system at large. However, this may be a blessing in disguise. Your constant on-the-go attitude can cause you to make unforeseeable mistakes along the way, whether they have happened yet or not. Going a million miles an hour can be frantic, and you could overlook some key details traveling at this speed. Practice patience and breathe. Slowing down and appreciating what you have can refuel your engine with much needed creativity and inspiration. Steampunk Sako. Why the steampunk? Time is constant, but your energy is not. Remember to enjoy the journey along the way, detours and pit stops included. You just woke up too. Also, good morning, Raven. My steampunk because I'm wearing a headset. The headgear has a very steampunk color palette. Oh, yeah, it's like fancy schmancy. You can kind of see like it's a little clear. It's just amber glass. I appreciate the classification. All right, we're going to continue along the way of magic in the material world. Oh, thank you. They're like ancient and I don't think they make them anymore. Magical reality, the Twilight Zone. Oh, wait. Did I read the last paragraph? I think I did. Okay. Magical reality, the Twilight Zone. Magic is a two-way process. You use it to change yourself, and in return, it changes you. Letting yourself enter a magic reality is not about creating an enclave of magic beyond your everyday life, but allowing magic in. Allowing for the intrusion of the weird, the irrational, the things you can't explain, and yet are undeniably real. You may well learn the summoning of spirits using ritual magic, but what happens when the spirits summon you? Encounters with strange lights, half-glimpsed figures, rushing presences, and flickering lights, these are very much associated with the wilderness. They come with the territory. But what do you do when magic comes a-calling around your house? There is no script or teaching on this subject. You learn by live experience and listen to your fellows. This is truly the intrusion of the Twilight Zone, the fuzzy borderlines that we... Oh, cool. The fuzzy borderlines that we draw between common everyday experience and the more than real. Hello, Christina. It's so good to see you. I want to check something out. Oh, okay. It lays on top of the overlay. That's good. I had something in my teeth. What is it about these experiences that is important? Firstly, that they are real in a way that overcomes all rationalizations to the contrary. Whenever I am in the presence of strangeness, I shiver and tears prick up at the corner of my eyes. I know and value this response as it allows me to sort out the difference between real strangeness and an overactive imagination. Secondly, they are often shared by others. A magician deals with gods, demons, spirits, elementals, and what have you. It is easy, therefore, to slip into a mental attitude of thinking that all these diverse entities are only at your beck and call, and no existence or will beyond yours. It's so good to see you as well. I'm trying to re-download Discord on my phone. I miss my flippin' side family. Oh, we'll miss you too, Christina. It's been awfully quiet without you. This attitude tends to fragment when a spirit turns up unannounced, especially if other people meet it too. A common feature of such experiences is that we tend to behave normally within them. It is only afterwards that we realize and say, what the fuck? A few years ago, a visiting friend came back from the bathroom and told me that there was a thing on the landing. Intrigued, I went out to have a look at this thing and found a moving shadow, roughly 6 feet high and man-shaped, in the half-light of the stairwell. We proceeded to question this entity and found it to be evasive, although promising that it would give you power, quote unquote. Unsatisfied with its answers, we told it to leave us alone. It was only afterwards that the uncanniness of the whole experience hit us. It was particularly amusing that although we accepted the presence of the unknown entity unreservedly, we had been highly skeptical of the answers it had given us to our questions and dismissed it when it would not give us the quality of information that we required. This sort of behavior appears to be common, at least from the people I have talked to about such intrusions of the uncanny. We do what seems to be appropriate at the time, and only afterwards does the shock of the bizarre hit us. Absolutely. I have to agree. Like, when I'm dealing with the situation, I deal with it like I would any other thing in my life, and then afterward I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? Oh shit, what just went down? That happened when, like, Karen was trespassing on my astral temple. Let's see. And it may be a shock indeed. When people ask me, is magic dangerous? I remember an experience of a friend some years ago. She was getting to grips with the goddess consciousness, having come through feminist politicization, but still dealing with Catholic guilt. I had lent her boyfriend a copy of Aleister Crowley's Hymn to Pan. She found it one night and read it. She said it stirred mixed feelings of excitement and revulsion as emotional sparks and beliefs warred within each other. Filled with a curious tension and apprehension, she reached up to the bookshelf and knocked down her boyfriend's tarot pack. The devil landed face up down at her feet. At the moment, she said her entire world cracked apart. Now, I could say that the experience was a manifestation of chaos or synchronicity, but such terms are almost irrelevant. Hi, Allie. Lovely to see you this morning. But such terms are almost irrelevant. What matters is that it happened, and nothing was ever the same again. This is magic indeed. I don't think it is possible to go out searching for such encounters. They come to us. Hence the terms Twilight Zone. The UFO knots never appear to the believer, but to the ordinary person next door. But there do seem to be some shades of awareness and perception that help, while others hinder. Physical exhaustion, which leaves you alert, seems to be beneficial, for instance. Mental exhaustion, on the other hand, appears to dull your sensitivity to intrusions from the outside. The appropriate mental attitude, I would say, is very much on the level of what happens, happens. This is echoed by Austin Osman Spare's doctrine of does not matter, need not be. Again, a form of relaxation in the present environment. You need to be level-headed, matter-of-fact. You need to have a level-headed, matter-of-fact approach to this kind of experience. Explanations don't matter. Experience does. Someone asks, do you believe in ghosts? No, which is not to say that I've never seen things which could be explained as ghosts. Not at all. It's just I haven't taken up the common beliefs and explanation of ghosts. Again, this is the core message of chaos magic. You don't have to believe in past lives, chakras, reincarnation, hidden depths, and the astral plane to work effective magic. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, the rain is melting all the snow. Still 30 degrees, but if you want to believe in any or all of this and more, it's your choice. Similarly, you don't have to believe in something to suddenly have it walk up to you and ask for a light. I used to believe that magic was merely psychology dressed up. That is, until one night I awoke to find something heavy and misty sitting upon my chest. Yes, okay, I admit it, I was scared shitless. I lay there for what felt like an eternity until I mentally visualized a pentagram and projected it forth, and the thing promptly faded away. I was in shock for days. Now, I've heard lots of different explanations from other people, but what is important for me is that it showed me more convincingly than any argument or book that magic is something real. Chapter 3. Becoming a Magician. I should change the title of this thingy. Becoming a Magician. Save changes. An error occurred. I don't think I can change it while I'm streaming. I can change it after or before. So I wonder, do any of you have experiences that you couldn't quite explain? The idea that he had control over his hypnagogic hallucination is like super astounding. I know I often do not have such control when I'm in situations like that. Well, that's a lie. I think I've told my evil Muppet story before. You believe heavily in spirits. So yesterday, my chaos friend posted the CIA's gateway meditations from 1981. And I did the first episode. And I had an experience or a vision, I don't know, vision, something, that is kind of throwing me for a loop. When I was young, from like 13 until 24. Aside from randomly precognitive dreams, Evil Muppet is the only preternatural experience I've ever had. Right on. Cool. So there is a chapter in here about mask work, and they describe mask work in a very similar way to trance work, like in the Roman context, which a friend of mine does quite expertly. And she just got back to me. I asked my Roman friend if she could, if she had experience with mask work, and she gave me like a novel, an article of her thoughts regarding how to deal with masks work in a trance context. So I'm excited to read that and get back to her. That'd be super cool. All right, becoming a magician. Oh, hold on, my ear itches. Okay, becoming a magician takes time and practice and experience. It is not just a matter of reading a few books, trying out a few exercises, rituals, and so forth, and then declaring yourself a magician. Sadly, it is all too easy for us to convince ourselves about our suitability for something. When Aleister Crowley wrote that magic is for all, few seem to have considered that he was possibly overstating the case. An examination of Crowley's life, particularly the number of his associates who tried to be magicians and yet failed, whose lives ended in madness or misery, clearly indicates that magic is not for everyone. A magician recognizes that the world moves through a magician recognizes that the world he moves through is an extremely complex place, that all that seems apparent and clear-cut in actuality hides a seething complexity, the full depths of which he may never grasp. Such a person by necessity is continually on guard against that which might limit his ability to adapt and survive in this world. A magician is constantly aware of his inner structures and that which is around him. He constantly strives to extend his possibilities for action, patient, yet aware of the necessity sometimes of going too far in all directions. Magic, in some senses, is the science of extremes. Many people are attracted to the occult as an attempt to escape from the responsibility of being human. Many seem to want to gain magical powers immediately without sacrifice or responsibility to that power. But the kinds of abilities that a magician may develop cannot be bought over the counter like a Saturday night special. Magical powers are literally the result of one's discipline. They are the result of practice, study, and the application of theories and techniques in one's own life. Moreover, this process changes you. With power comes the understanding of responsibility. It is my responsibility as a writer to say that no one ever became a magician from reading books. Sure, you can learn from other people, but you don't become a magician until you begin to twist something that you have read or learned and apply it successfully within your own life. Anyone can convince himself that he is a magician in the safety of his own head. It helps sometimes to have a few followers or friends who agree, but the test is to go somewhere else and be a magician there. One of the most significant powers a magician develops is a certain poise, a degree of self-assured manner. A good magician maintains his poise no matter where he is or who he has about him. This is a power that other magicians can recognize and respect, as it says much more about a person than what he says about himself. In magical circles, there is sometimes a degree of confusion over the distinction between basic and advanced magic. The former is associated with beginners, while the latter is associated with adepts or magi. Some people seem to have the opinion that basic techniques of magic should only be practiced for a set period and then discarded in favor of something more arcane. In the chaos approach, the term basic applies to any technique or practice which is simple, effective, and which, once understood, can be applied throughout your life, no matter how far advanced a magician you may become. And that, I think, it's the same thing with any creative endeavor, right? So, art, for instance, you learn very basic things like how to work with proportions by measuring out certain shapes, right? It's very basic, and something you learn pretty early on. And you carry that. You never stop doing that. Even if they don't draw the guidelines and stuff like that, they see the guidelines in their head when they draw. So that is one of those skills that they carry over from their beginning days to their advanced days. And I assume it's a similar thing with magic. Well, obviously it is a similar thing with magic according to this book. But with music, with writing, with fucking anything creative, you gotta put in the, what is it, 80 hours before you actually start to get good at something. All right, preparing for magical practice. To learn any magical techniques and skills requires practice, just as does learning to read, write, or drive a car. Practice is difficult, especially nowadays when we are increasingly becoming used to the idea of instant courses, remedies, and therapies. Someone is trying to call me from California, and I don't know who that is. Practice is difficult, especially nowadays when we are increasingly becoming used to the idea of instant courses, remedies, and therapies. One weekend workshop does not make you a magician, any more than one weekend of driving a car would make you a proficient motorist. To become skilled requires time, effort, and self-discipline. When learning magical techniques, we are often going through a process of extending our everyday range of abilities, often in ways that may not have occurred to us previously. This requires a level of determination that will at times seem onerous or more effort than it's worth. And the benefits may only seem obvious in the long term. Hi, Jenny. No problem. Treat this as a podcast. It's all good. I'd love to hear your 2 cents on the occasional thing, but you don't gotta. There are 2 elements that are worth considering when it comes to practice. The first is that we are learning new skills that will form a sound basis for further work. There is little point attempting to work entirely on the astral plane if you cannot sit still for 5 minutes or hold an image in your mind's eye without wandering off onto another track. Practice requires discipline, and the growth of self-discipline is in itself a powerful magical ally. If nothing else, by assiduously doing something which you have promised to yourself that you will do, you are increasing your confidence in your ability to do things, and confidence is key to successful magic. The second element to consider is that in setting yourself a goal of regular practice, you are pitting yourself against what is probably the most deadly magical adversary, your own inertia. If you have a conversation with yourself that you are lazy, unable to concentrate, and can never finish tasks off, then the only way to break out of that self-imposed limitation is to set yourself a regular practice and do it. You may well be surprised at your own ingenuity in trying to wriggle out from doing the practice, that it'd be much better to have a lie-in than get up and meditate, that you'll do it twice tomorrow for missing out today, that you don't possibly have the spare time. I don't consider it spare time at all. I consider it time that I have purposely set aside to do things. At times, the limitations we impose upon ourselves seem to have a life of their own. They resist being changed by fighting against the changes that we are trying to make in our lives. It may be that if we do not find a new task difficult or imposing on everyday life, we are not taking it seriously enough. Only when we take up something that threatens our established patterns do our limitations seek to preserve themselves. So the patterns do our limitations. Hold on. So the fact that you might be coming up with attractive excuses to keep you will change the pattern. Hold on. I keep skipping lines. So the fact that you might be coming up with attractive excuses to keep you from practice can be taken as a good sign. But the only way you will change the pattern is to keep trying until you change it. This often requires determination he says tenaciousness. I mean, come on, tenacity. It's a word. And sheer bloody-mindedness, all in themselves qualities that are useful for the budding magician. It's like any practice, work, spiritual, etc. You need to set time or you will never do it on a regular basis. Absolutely. It's not something you do in your spare time. It is something that you make time for. It's that determination. It's that discipline. And they talk about that a lot in writing, don't they? That butt-in-chair daily practice. Now, I don't write every day. Well, that's a lie. I write something. It may not be something that's publishable but like it might be to a friend or something like that. But I write every day. So idea that you have to and art is very much the same, where you can read books all day, every day, but until you actually practice what is in those books, until you actually experience the pencil on the paper or the stylus on the tablet, you can't call yourself an artist. Now, I don't know at which point you can call yourself a magician. Like, I do not consider myself a magician, but especially after his definition of what a magician is not. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. Ooh, I heard a beep beep beep. I do not know where that beep 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 was from. The magical diary, which means your book of shadows, your book of mirrors, whatever you want to call it. The magical diary is an ally to practice, a work record, a confessor. Astronomers often say that if it wasn't written down, it didn't happen. And this is a good axiom for magicians to take up. Keeping a magical diary is a good habit to get into, enabling you record all of your attempts. That's a weird sentence. All of your attempts at different exercises and techniques, any ideas and insights that arise from them, and anything else you find significant. Years later, you might look back at your early attempts and squirm uncomfortably, but equally you will find that having a record of your work in this way is very useful, since magical ideas and insights often loop back into earlier experiments. It is not unknown for magicians to start developing an idea, put it aside, and come back to it years later with a fresh understanding and insight into what it was all about. The same thing tends to happen with books. You might read a book and have no idea what the author is really saying. Then come back to it later and it makes much more sense. Case in point. It is also worth bearing in mind as developing their own approaches and specialties in magic. A diary is a record of your doings that one day historians might find a valuable document. You should choose a method of keeping a diary which is most convenient to you, such as in a bound blank page book or ring binder folder, or even a computer disk, or Google Docs or Pinterest or whatever the fuck. The sort of information that should be included in a diary write-up includes what was done, the duration, where it was done, any pertinent weather, moon phase, astrological conjunctions, if you feel these are significant to you, how you feel it went, any ideas arising from it, and any other comments. Some magical teachers and groups insist that students be prepared to present their diaries for scrutiny. It can be a useful spur to keep your diary as though someone was going to look at it at some stage. If I remember correctly, Wiccans look at your BOS as your own private thing. Like, nobody's allowed to look in that book unless, like, you have express permission. And even then, like, that's really opening you up for, like, weird stuff or whatever the fuck. I don't know what the why everyone was so protective of their tarot decks, why everyone was so protective of their BOS, why you couldn't share knowledge freely. Oh, I need more coffee. I will be right back. Boop. I will be right back. Look over here. All right, coffee that is too hot to drink. And I have banana bread from a dear friend who I hung out with yesterday, who is vaccinated. Mine is open to others to read if I want them to, but mostly it's my thoughts and observations and personal rituals. Right. But that's why I'd never pull tarot before my sister got me a deck. Well, let me take off this thing. There we go. I have bought most of my own decks. Me too. I do have my dad's that was willed to me. Oh, and a deck that was given by my friend. But if it calls to me, then I buy it. If not, I leave them in the store. Very protective of my spaces too. No one is allowed to read my journal. If there's something in there that needs communicated, I have to say it out loud. And I get very upset when people sit at my computer. Oh. But I need to lay hands on the deck. Yeah. When I do readings in person, ooh. Oh. A lot of energy went into making that deck. Granted, it's shadow energy, but energy nonetheless. I am of the mind that I would love to look at other BOSs and other books of mirror. However, I think I would rather hear it from their mouths. But I don't like the idea of like someone scrutinizing my research. It's kind of messed up. When I write in my book of mirrors, I write for myself. But I do write it in such a way that someone could read it and understand it. Probably understand it. Okay. Time. Oh, I have music. Hold on. I want to hear the music. Yeah, okay. Uncomfortable bluntness from my decks today. Pekana and Loskin reversed the frog, suggesting that healing is coming, but it's going to be challenging or simply difficult to get through. Yeah. Mercury in retrograde is fucking with everybody. According to the person I did tarot for last week, he was really impressed at my ability to read him. I think I need to give a little work to that sort of thing, if that's what you mean by shadow work. No. Shadow work is looking at the ugly part of yourselves, the dark part of yourselves, the part of yourselves that you don't show people, and really scrutinizing. Now I have that word like stuck in my head. Is that a good idea? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea. But shadow work is like therapy for yourself. When you go to a therapist, how fucking often does Mercury go into retrograde? It seems like it comes up way too often for a celestial event. Pretty quick. What is it, like 100 days that it takes for Mercury to go around the sun? I want food. Oh. All right, time. Okay. So, I'm not going to lie. A lot of my tarot readings, especially if I use my own deck, turn into therapy sessions. That's just like kind of how it works out. Now, I am not a therapist. I am not a professional by any means, but my decks like to lay it out and call you out. Staying locked down for eternity is a bad idea. This COVID economy can't handle it. Okay. Best of luck with that. And I'm not saying that to be facetious. I mean, best of luck for real. Apparently, it's an 88-day cycle. So Mercury goes into retrograde an average of 3 or 4 times a year. It just seems way more often. No, about 3 or 4 times a year. Once a season, basically. It's kind of what I did. An outside version of it, at least. I started pulling cards and I was like, hey, motherfucker, drop the armor and the glamour. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to ask a person that you're reading, but if the cards are saying, drop the facade, then drop the facade. All right. Regular practice takes time, which is a commodity that not all of us have in the same degree. For example, any practical magic workbooks recommend that you assiduously do a particular practice at the same hour each day. This is fine if your lifestyle allows you to rigorously plan your day, but for others, it is impossible. I think my coffee's too hot. I don't know. Still too hot. But delicious with the banana bread. It wasn't really the cards. It was him when I started pulling the cards. Apparently my accuracy shifted. Oh. In my experience, tarot and most divination tools will cut through the facade or glamour, whether intentional or unconscious. Although it's different thing if the drawing actually says knock that shit off. Yeah. Oh, we're okay. Let me finish this paragraph and then we'll talk until the end of the stream. I didn't realize we were so close to the end. In setting up your own schedules for practice, it is essential that you be realistic about the amount of free time that you can allot to practice. If you absolutely cannot do a daily practice, then give yourself a schedule that you know you have a better chance of keeping to. It is only useful to set practice schedules if you know that you can realistically find free space to stick to them. I do new moon and full moon. Sometimes I do, like, if there's like some kind of astrological conjunction thing going on, I'll take advantage of that too. But I study like almost every day. I read tarot like it. The pictures psychologists show people. It's a tool to see yourself, and there is some research to back it up. Mm-hmm. In setting up your own schedules for practice, it is essential to be realistic about the free time that you can allot to practice. I read all of this already. If you set an unrealistic practice schedule, then it is likely you will not be able to keep it, which will not improve your confidence. I have found that on average, it is better to practice an exercise for a short time frequently than for a long period infrequently, so that 5 minutes of meditation on a daily basis is more beneficial than half an hour every 3 weeks. Well, like you're supposed to chant every day in Buddhism, which I haven't done in a really long time. Hi, Daya. I'm just wrapping up. Likewise, it is easier to begin some exercises by attempting them for a few minutes and then to slowly increase the duration than try to strain yourself. There's no point in trying to run before you can walk, especially when it comes to magic, where it is very easy to fall flat on your face. Oh, thank you guys for joining me today. It made it, I don't want to say bearable. I want to say more comfortable. Because I don't know how many people actually watch this on the replay. Maybe. Twitter keeps giving me notifications and I hate it. Because it gives me notifications about shit I don't care. I don't care. You like having this ritual? Me too. Granted, I'm going back and I'm reading something that I've already read. As you can tell, I've been super into reading this book. I need to go back and rewatch all the ones I missed, yeah. So, out of curiosity, when you pick up healing in a reading, do you interpret it as generic healing, which could invoke anything that's damaged in life, or specific physical healing? It really depends on the cards that are around it. It might be physical, it might be mental, it might be psychological. Well, mental, psychological, kind of the same thing. It might be spiritual. Usually the cards around it will talk about it. There's a lot to be said for rereading. Oh, rereading the book. Yeah. So if you liked this video at any point, I recommend that you hit that like button. And if you would like to see the rest of this chaos magic weirdness, then please to be hitting subscribe and maybe even ring that bell on the off chance that YouTube actually notifies you that I'm going live. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Oh, okay. Hold on. I use 2 like qualifier cards. If like it says healing, I'm like, okay, well, what is it healing? Clarifying. Yeah, playing with the buttons, playing with the buttons, playing with the buttons, playing with the buttons. Okay, I'll see you guys on the... Yeah, you don't always need it, but I will catch you guys on the Discord server.